Comics in the City. So this is the second of our Comics in the City series this July. We will be doing this every Friday night through the end of the month. We are excited to welcome next week Eddie On. So if you enjoyed tonight, please also join us next Friday for Eddie On, who will be live on stage doing an interview. And after that, we will also have the graduate reading. Students from our very own MFA Comics program who will be reading comics on their theses. Very exciting. Friday and Saturday night, August 1st and 2nd. All of our programming is free and open to the public, and we always have snacks for you afterwards, so please come out for that. After tonight's programming, we will all be heading out in a group over to the campus gallery, which is an easy 5-minute walk away from here, for the Eisner-nominated exhibition opening. We will get to see work from our second summer students here in the Comics MFA program. After this event for that, we will walk over and we'll have a grand old time. But tonight, we are so incredibly honored to welcome an alumni of the program and an incredibly accomplished author, Sam Sattin. I am going to read a quick bio and then I'm going to hand the floor over to Sam for a live comics reading here. Sam Sattin is a best-selling Eisner-nominated writer, editor, and narrative designer with over a decade of experience creating captivating and immersive stories across animation, comics, games, and publishing. As the writer of Scholastic's groundbreaking Unico series in collaboration with Tezuka Productions and the Eisner Award-winning artist team Gurahiro, he reimagined Osamu Tezuka's beloved classic for a new generation. He also adapted Cartoon Salon's Academy Award-nominated Irish folklore trilogy into acclaimed graphic novels and authored the Eisner-nominated Buzzing from Little Brown for Young Readers. In addition to publishing, he has contributed to screenwriting and content development for television and film, earning an Emmy for his work with PBS Kids. Samuel graduated from a little program you might have heard of, the MFA in Comics program here at California College of the Arts, and works as a studio writer at the Schultz Creative Associates, and resides with his wife in San Francisco. Sam, we're so thrilled to have you here. Thank you for being here. Woo!
Thank you so much for that introduction. It's so great to be back here. Wow. Like I used to come to these Comics in the City lectures and just be able to be wow. A lot of people standing out here, so it's pretty intimidating and humbling and awesome. So anyway, really wonderful to be here tonight. I actually no longer work at Schultz Creative Studios as a comic student. That's okay. It was voluntary, so it wasn't involuntary. Okay, so tonight, just before I get to this awesome conversation with Justin Hall, which I'm really looking forward to, I'm just going to do a reading from book 2 of Unico, which just hit the shelves a few weeks ago, and we'll talk probably more about Unico tonight, but it's basically about a unicorn with amnesia being chased through time and space by an evil goddess. So that's kind of the notion, that's the idea of Unico. And in this, at the beginning of this book, Unico wakes up in a strange city that he has no idea where he is. Where am I? Unico. Hello? Wait. Blink. Well, Zoom. Wait. Please. Hello? Please, can you help me? I don't know where I am. Hello? Psst. Hey, kid. You should be a whole lot quieter around here if you value your life. Who are you? Someone who knows what's what. Now come with me before she sees you. Don't worry, kid. I'm not going to hurt you. We have to hurry. This way. Careful not to touch that water. It'll burn you to the bone. Okay. Just a little farther. Where are we going? You'll see. Phew, we're safe now. Safe from what? You think you've seen everything, then a creature like you comes along. You a unicorn or something? Or something. Right, don't want to give too much away. I get it. No, I mean, I really don't know. Well, you look like a horse. You got a horn in the middle of your head, and I'm guessing you're not a narwhal. Actually, unicorn does sound familiar. Ha! I knew it. Anyway, what were you doing out there? You could have been captured or worse. I don't know. I just woke up and I was here. You don't remember anything at all? No? Or, well, I don't know. Are you all right, kid? I don't know. Garapachi, is that you? 'Tis I, my love. You're late. I was so worried. Well, I'm safe and sound, and I brought along a guest. Can you believe it? A real unicorn in the flesh. Sniff, sniff. But Garapachi, he smells like one of them. Well, he's not one of them. No need to worry. One of who? Doesn't matter, kid. Make yourself comfortable. Thank you for welcoming me into your home. Well, isn't he the sweetest? Ragged looking, though. I'll fix the poor thing some tea. Coffee for me, if we have any left. Squeak, 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 squeak. Can you believe it, kiddos? A real-life unicorn in our home. Corn, popcorn, yum. No, not popcorn, unicorn. Why, hello. Oh my, they're quite curious. We don't get many visitors around here these days. Ha ha. Popcorn, popcorn. Okay, give the kids some room to breathe. Nothing better than a good cup of coffee. Enjoy it while we have it. Do you take sugar in your tea, Mr. Unicorn? I don't know. Sugar then. Don't worry, you'll like it. Thank you. Okay, now that we're settled, let me introduce you to my family. I'm Garapachi. This is my lovely wife, Okuzu. And these are our mouselings. Oof. I could tell you their names, but they'll each have gone through 4 or 5 of them by the time they're fully grown. I'm Fritz. I'm Carlos. I'm Popcorn. No, you're not. Speaking of names, what's yours, kid? It's Unico, I think. You don't know? No, now I get it. You got what's that called? You can't remember things. Amnesia. Now I understand why I found you chasing a fae down the sewer hole. What's a fae? It's what we call those nasty beasts in the sewer, which you do smell a bit like, I have to admit. Well, in my experience, fae won't bother you if you don't bother them. And they're more concerned with the phantoms anyway. Phantoms? This one's more mixed up than a bowl of scrambled eggs. Give him time, love. He'll come around. Eggs, eggs, popcorn. I'm sorry, Mr. Unico. All our mouselings think about these days is food, and not without good reason. Garapachi, did you find any food out there today? But dear, the mouselings have barely eaten a thing since yesterday morning, and that was a thin meal if I've ever seen one. I tried love at slim pickings out there. You were looking for food when you found me? Among other things, it's not as easy as it used to be. It's hard enough to raise a family when the cupboards are full, but our babies need to eat, and they can't be slurping up that sludge in the sewers. Sigh, I'll go see Chico. Again? That poor girl can barely climb out of bed. Hey, I don't like asking for help either, but what other choice do we have? Don't worry, hon, she's never turned us down before. Unico, why don't you tag along? I know she'll want to meet you. Who's Chico? She's the little girl who lives in this house, along with her grub of a grandfather, Yoji. They're the last two humans in the city. They let us hide here in their crawl space. Humans. I know what those are. Yes. See, kid? You're remembering things already. Must have been Okuza's brew that did it. Not a mouse in the world can mix tea like she can. But anyway, Chico's the best. A real sweet soul. This way. Is food really so hard to find in this city? You saw the tainted water in the sewers, right? Yes. Well, water is life, kid. So if the water is toxic in this place, then so is everything else. You can find something to nibble if you gotta, but every bite we swallow will make you sicker until you end up croak. But how did everything become so toxic? Mother, that's how. Hey, Chico, I'm sorry to disturb you. Hmm? Oh, hello, Garapachi. Have you been here for long? I've been so sleepy. Nah, I just got here. Is it still daytime? Night, day, hard to tell sometimes, but never mind. I got a surprise for you. Allow me to introduce you to my especially mythical new friend. His name is Unico. It's nice to meet you, Chico. Oh my, are you a unicorn? I'm not sure, but you must be. Look at your horn. I'm trying to remember things, but all I see is fog. You've already been over this, kid. Of course you're a unicorn, but you've got the amnesia. I don't remember a lot either. This is my grandpa Yoji. He also says I don't remember things because of the fog that surrounds the city. That old coot blames everything on the fog. So you live here with your grandfather? Yes, he's at work right now, but should be back soon. I'm sure he'd love to meet you. And you two live here all by yourselves? Well, we have Garapachi and Okuzu and their mouselings in the crawl space. Yep, the best tenants in town. Well, the only tenants in town. But it wasn't always like that. I don't remember much, but I know the sun used to shine. And people, there were so many of them. Maybe it's best not to dwell on such things, Chico, my dear. You're right, Garapachi. So you just come by to introduce me to your Unico? Well, yes and no. I went out scavenging for food. The streets were, everything was. Do you need food? Don't worry, friend. We have some to spare. Are you sure? We don't like taking from you. We need to survive, cough, cough, so that one day we can rebuild. That's what Grandpa Yoji says. Will this be enough? Chico, I don't know what we would do without you. Oh, stop it, you silly mouse. Even though you and Grandpa don't always see eye to eye, an understatement, you're our family. And I know we just met, but you're our family now too, Unico, assuming you'll be staying for a while. Cough, cough. Cough, cough, cough. Chico. Not again. Just so sleepy. Gara. She's very sick. Has been for a while now, yes. The city has only gotten worse over time. Chico's the only child left. Then what are we waiting for? When her grandpa gets home, we'll leave this place and find Chico a doctor. Oh, kid, you have a heart of gold. we already tried to leave. And sadly, there isn't a cure, not for what she's got. No cure, but there must be. You know, maybe it'll be easier if I show you. What do you see, kid? I see a factory unlike any other. It's where Mother lives. And one thing to know about Mother is that she will never, ever let Chico leave. She won't? Nope. Not even if it means taking away her childhood. Not even if it means taking away her life. And we can't do a thing about it.
All right, hi. So the format here, I'm just going to start asking some questions. We've got Mel, the human clicker, over here to click us through some slides as well, and then there'll be some time for Q&A before we wrap up and head over to the Eminata show. I wanted to, well, first, you primarily are a writer, yes?
Yes, exactly.
Did you ever illustrate your own work, or?
Well, I did in this program, for sure, 13 years ago when I started here, 12 years ago. Yeah, wow, 13. But yeah, no, I do illustrate, I do draw, and I paint too, mostly for my own purposes and just kind of for my own private likings.
Do you feel like learning how to do the visual storytelling side of comics helped you, because you were a prose writer first, and then got into comics writing. Oftentimes that's a sort of fraught deal where oftentimes, prose writers come into comics and they tend to overwrite things, they don't really understand the medium. Do you feel like learning the visual storytelling side of comics helped you as a comics writer?
1,000%. Basically, yes, I started in prose, but I grew up on comics. I was mean on them, and so I knew that one day I wanted to work on them. And so I was probably like, I'm like a 90s kid, I'm 43 years old, so I was kind of raised during the image boom, when everything was coming out with image, so I bought a bunch of that stuff, and I just was obsessed with comics. But yeah, coming from prose, you really have to completely and totally relearn how to approach a story and how to approach writing in general, and you have to learn how to use visual narrative, which is visual language, which is completely different than, both are storytelling, but the way in which those stories are told cannot be more different. So learning how to actually make them, which is very difficult. I remember actually the first day I came into class, I was really freaked out because everybody else had come from art school.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody else was in art school. We had some really talented people in our class, and so we had some people that were just like, they knew what they were doing. I had always drawn, but I was never really trained in any kind of way, so I didn't have any materials, I didn't really know what I was doing, and then, I think it was either Matt or yourself, I think it was Matt at the time, Matt Silverby, who was just kind of like, just go and draw, and just do it. And so,
if it was me, I would have shamed you.
You would have shamed me, well, right, you did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, every day before class, it was really inappropriate.
Yes.
I remember it was kind of just like diving in, and I really had to learn how to make my own book, and I did a lot of it, and it was a grind. And but if I hadn't, it taught me so much that now, for example, when I'm working with artists, I can actually go and I can draw what I want to.
Oh, okay.
I can actually go and show what I want to happen. I understand what even though I'm not as I'm not as talented in what I can do, as far as I'm not able to do what good Heater can do, I can understand what I want to talk to them about doing.
Yeah. So, that brings me to the idea of format, scripting formats, which are not, unlike film, which has very specific standardized formats, comics don't have that.
Right.
So you have to sort of figure that out with your artists, I guess. So we've got some script examples here. The one on the left is for graphic novel buzzing, and this is from a new project, Links. And I think actually if you could click one more, this is some roughs, I think, from Links, right? So talk to us about your process when you're working with artists. Like, how do you approach the scripting format, and do you have conversations with them first? Do you do character designs with them? How does that work?
Yeah, so now I've kind of developed more of a kind of a procedure. So like, you know, first of all, like when I'm working with an artist, I never work on a project where we don't collaborate 50-50. So for me, it's never just like I'm writing, they're drawing, and it really is like a collaborative process, and I prefer if the artist is it's more of a conversation. When I usually start, but also the artists I work with typically really want a lot of direction. So it's like, which is great. So that's where the scripting comes in. So typically what we'll do is I create a Pinterest page where I'll have a lot of, we do mood boarding and we do different character design boarding and try to figure out what things will look like, kind of capture the mood of, since I do a lot of stuff that's speculative, you know, that's more, you know, fantastical or, you know, whatnot. Like we try to, you know, get a lot of stuff that just kind of says this is what we want to feel like when we're going to be making this story. And then with my whole entire thing with scripting is I think of it as mostly in terms of pacing. I think that there's a kind of musicality to comics in the way that panel arrangements and layouts kind of carry a narrative forward. I think that is a really important part of comic storytelling. And so what I'm thinking of, often when I'm writing a script, I actually won't even put any description into the panels at first. I'll just write out kind of, you know, sound effects and dialogue, kind of just go through the different beats of the panels. And then I'll turn a page, and then I'll do the same with the next page. And I'll kind of remember what's going on, and then I'll go back and kind of fill it out.
So you're writing like dialogue and sound effects and stuff like that. Do you break things up into pages initially, or that happens later?
So do page one, and then so yeah, if you go back, so for example, thank you. So page one for buzzing up on the left, and these are two different kinds of scripts because, sorry, I have to get an editorial thing on top, but links on the right is being done with Viz for Viz Original, and so it's going to be it's a little bit more like real manga formatting, and then the one on the left was for buzzing, which was for Little Brown Ink, which is more of a traditional kind of Western style look. And so with one, I would just kind of, if I were writing that from the get-go, I might be like, Isaac in school, and then panel 2. Then without having anything in the actual description box, I might just be like, zzz, you know, so I'm thinking about like where these thought bees are going to be, which the book is about a kid with OCD who's being kind of hounded by these thought bees all day long. And so just thinking about like how the story is going to be told from a pacing perspective. That's my first thing that I always do.
So with pacing, a big part of this is in wordless panels and wordless pages. Like, how do you build those into your scripts? Like, how do you think about those?
Yeah, it comes down to like the same kind of like when I was from the opening pages of Unico earlier, like he wakes up, he opens his eyes, he walks forward, he looks around. Like that for me is important to get every single one of those moments because
you give each the number of panels that you want to put together to.
Yeah, so I'll say for example, I think I might have sent it to you. I'm not sure if it's in here somewhere, but it's but I basically what I do is I kind of I'll set up and I'll give a lot of description. I'll be like, you know, Unico wakes up, he doesn't we don't see the entire city yet, but this is where he is, and then I'll explain like that he's in a city that's partially abandoned, but mostly abandoned, but at the same time there's kind of a light that's buzzing through it because there's a lot of you know, hardware and robotic equipment in a lot of those homes that are now empty of human life. And so the idea that, you know, kind of giving, and then there's a mist that kind of goes to the city. The color palettes that I'm thinking about are kind of darker green, more, you know, toned out, washed out, definitely dark and contrasting to Unico. And then like that's what I'll kind of have in there. And then I'll be like, then he opens his eyes, he looks around, he takes a couple steps forward, and then he sees something out of the corner of his eye, or something, we see something out of the corner of our eye, out of the corner of the panel that Unico does not see. So something like that. Just like, I think that the idea for me is to make sure that one of the reasons I really like manga, and is because it really slows down a lot of the moments in a book. It really does not have a problem with just, lingering on a setting or a character moving through space or whatever it happens to be. So I have an affinity for that. So I try to, I make sure that's very purposeful when writing a script.
It's the lone wolf cub effect of having and 20 pages of water rippling and bamboo, breezing, samurai.
Wagging the old rattle.
Yeah, right.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's super effective. I mean, in Unico, you get the sense of the city, and you take the time to take the time to establish this this environment, which becomes incredibly important to the storytelling. Yeah. So, you developed this. I'm going to do the next one. One more. This is actually from a double page spread from your first comic, which you did with Chris Kohler, who's a teacher as well,
That's right.
Sort of a great illustrator. And
Never finished.
Never finished.
Never finished.
The great, unfinished saga. But were you and Chris, did you sort of develop this working? How did you establish this initial working process?
Yeah. Well, so I took class with Chris, and we became friends, and we talked about working on a book, and I was like, okay, I'll come up with an idea for a book. And I came up with the idea of dogs in the apocalypse, and trying to escape these mutant creatures who are actually just humans who are diseased. And he was like, okay, I'll draw that. And then we actually got down to drawing, and he was like, I'm really tired of drawing dogs.
That's a lot of dogs.
That's a lot of dogs.
So
many dogs. Especially with Chris's style.
It's fully rendered.
Fully inked in every single panel, and just
there are problems when prose writers come to comics and they overdo things, and then when illustrators come to comics.
Yes, well that's the thing, illustrators.
Yeah,
because Chris is a really accomplished illustrator, so he's very he's New York Times illustrations on a regular basis, and that's what he usually does. And he's and I'm like, okay. So the corgi is blind, the corgi is wise, and the corgi is an oracle, and he talks to the other dogs, and 3 of them are in this scene, and he's like, I'm just going to draw one corgi. One corgi, you're not getting 3 dogs in the scene.
It's not a triple oracle, it is a one oracle.
But this was a really great introduction to making a book, though, because we really had to work hard to get it off its feet and making it, and we really felt like we had a lot of responsibility to make sure we could do the best we could with it.
Yeah.
So that's why we were on a schedule, we did a monthly with it, so we had to, which almost killed Chris. And then, but it was a really great way to learn how hefty it is to make a book. I lettered this whole book.
Right, you lettered it, and they were getting pages in late at night, lettering
I was lettering until 3 a.m. every night.
Yeah, but you're getting a sense of comics as production. Right?
Yes, it was production. Yes.
The sweatshop.
It was. It really was. It was wonderful, but it's also you realize and there's a lot of morale supporting, and so keeping each other going.
Yeah. I want to circle back to sort of work-life balance stuff when we start talking about the Japanese industry. But first I want to go to Buzzing. And so this is the graphic novel that you just got nominated for an Eisner for, so congratulations. It's really beautiful. I just reread it and I cried again.
Oh,
that's you. My cold heart. You need a cold heart. Actually, squeeze the tears out. Actually, it's really easy to make me cry, actually, so it's a low bar. But it's such a beautiful book, and you mentioned before the sort of the visual premise of it, which you worked out with Ry Hickman, who's amazing, they're incredible, is this depiction of OCD by using sort of cartoony bees that are buzzing around the character and interfering with thoughts and sort of giving little, saying little things and even having little visual descriptions and stuff that are about sort of doom and despair and negative thoughts. So how did you and Roy come up with this?
Well, I got OCD.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, since I was a kid, like, I've always been kind of hit with these kind of intrusive thoughts that kind of like, and they come in terms of like, the reason I kind of try to do that, we're trying to figure out how to depict them. It's really hard to understand how to depict like intrusive, something that's really so intangible. And so that's what we kind of, I thought about bees, because the idea that, you know, these things that are kind of buzzing around you that aren't necessarily, bees aren't dangerous, but they look dangerous. And also, they do cause a lot of clamor and trying to concentrate or focus. And often intrusive thoughts can be images. They can be things that are a little bit more intangible, but you can't really put a finger on what they are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like it's like always like, you know, your intrusive thought isn't spoken, it's just something that you feel, it's something intangible. So we're trying to, that was kind of the idea of trying to use bees to make that kind of come to life.
It's beautiful how like at times in certain panels it's very subtle, like they're always just sort of there, you know, but then sometimes they get more and like really block your vision and like it's,
And I think the idea there is like, you know, things don't just go away. You can't just like, you can't like magic away any kind of, you know, who you are, but you can kind of learn how to maybe understand what they're going to be, what's going to make more of them come.
They sort of get less scary over the course of the book, which is
not be afraid of them.
Which is really just, and it's done completely sort of in a subtle way by just having them there all the time.
That's the hope. And like, and Rai did such an incredible job with trying, because we basically talked about how we're going to do this and kind of what we both wanted from the book.
Yeah.
Because we both wanted to create a story not just about, we didn't want it to just be about OCD, we wanted it to be about kind of identity and young love and kind of like trying to figure out where you kind of, you know, well, basically the main character comes from a house that's a little bit more restrained, not necessarily abusive, but restrained and kind of uncreative. And his kind of like love interest and friend ends up coming from Micah. They end up coming from a home that's a lot more open and kind of colorful. And so that kind of exchange, that relationship is a big part of that book. And then kind of the OCD becomes a character in it. So that was the hope, and that's what we hope that's what we were able to accomplish in the book, you know.
One that you use another element, visual element that's used besides the bees is the use of color. So the world is very gray and washed out for a lot of this, where the colors leached from the protagonist's worldview oftentimes by his disability. But then there are moments when color sort of pops in, like he sees Micah for the first time and color sort of enters into the world. Here's an example of where I really felt like the bees were done so beautifully. This is when Micah's at looking in a mirror, I believe, right? And that's a dangerous thing to do. But
it is.
Yeah. But here's what where color really pops, and this is there's a sort of another layer of reality which happens when the characters play Dungeons and Dragons spinoff.
That's right. Swamps and sorcery.
Cleverly disguised.
Cleverly disguised.
So yeah, talk about like using the different layers of reality to sort of pop back and forth.
Well, like color is something that like both Ryan and I were kind of obsessed with the idea of using emotional color. Color as an emotional technique. Ryan is really good at it. They really understand how to use color as an emotional kind of touchstone. We also both I think Ryan did as well. I also read a book called The Wendy Project, which was what I really liked about the Wendy Project was the way that the creators also just used a lot of color to use basically color as an emotional pinpoint throughout the entire story. So we kind of wanted to do something like that. And actually, Rye got a lot of pushback on it. The editor didn't want us doing it. The editor was like, no, it's going to be confusing. And Rye was like, well, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And so we ended up doing it.
Right.
Yeah, and like Rye was like, nope, doing it. And then afterwards, the editor was like, you guys were right. And like because and so in this book in particular, when they have basically Isaac ends up kind of joining this role playing group, this TTRPG group, and he ends up it ends up really helping him kind of find himself and find his voice and kind of like lose himself in the character and his relationships and really grow. And so whenever he enters that world, it's incredibly colorful. Like from the get-go. They're like colors that are completely vivid, and you only see in a couple other points in the book, like when they go camping, for example, and stuff like that. But like, so the idea is that these worlds, these inner worlds, these imaginatory worlds, are ones where a lot of beautiful things come to life.
I also just gotta give credit for the name of the tavern, the Porky Swallow.
We really wanted to make T-shirts.
I love the image too. It's just like this bird with a big snout.
Yeah, Porky Swallow.
I'm into it. There's also there's these lovely secondary characters. There's a decided dig at the Harry Potter creator,
yes.
Which was really well received.
It was during the uptick of Rowling's immense, evil breakdown. So we decided to get a little shot at.
Yeah, so she becomes sort of her avatar becomes a sort of a villain in the story that this woman writes, another magical fantasy. But I love this character. She comes in to do a reading, and she just sort of says this lovely thing to the audience. Thankfully, when I was in the age, maybe when I was right here in the audience right now, my aunt, a woman who's very special to me, started to do an incredibly wonderful thing, sneak me books. And eventually, those books led me to me wanting to write books myself, not just because I enjoyed stories, but because I wanted to create the kind of world I needed when I was a child. So, I mean, not to be too meta about it, but like, you're doing that now. Did you have someone like this on, or like?
Well, like, I definitely grew up in more of a household similar to Isaac's household, which is a little bit, my parents were not creative people, so they're very, pragmatic. My dad grew up pretty blue collar, it was more of a just different kind of household. And I did meet people as I grew up that came from different kinds of more creative households, and I was like, wow, what is this? But yeah, I did. I got snuck books by a family member, and then also by like a couple of friends that I met that gave me really interesting books to read. And I grew up reading like tons of fantasy books, and my dad was always like, why are you reading that garbage? Not, he wasn't even mean about it. He was just like, this looks like garbage. You should read other things. And I was like, well, okay. So, and yeah, I think that it really, I would definitely not be doing this now if it had not been for the people that snuck me books.
So do you think of the work that you do now as a sort of paying forward that?
Yeah, I definitely would like to be able to, I think that books really kind of saved me. And so books of all kinds kind of saved me. So I think that's why I enjoy making them.
Yeah.
And I just hope that's why if somebody can discover something that makes them happy, that helps them, use their imagination a little bit more. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think.
This is on the next page too. Big story, and this is sort of more of a direct response to the Rowling stuff. I think that Eli is the name of the wizard, of her wizard, and this idea of, unlike some stories about magic, Eli belongs to you. So what a big part of there was a sort of sense of betrayal by the fandom of Harry Potter. When Rowling sort of went the direction she did, how do you think about the ownership of your own stories? Do you think about them being somehow in the public trust, like being your stories, like they're, as they go out into the world, they become not yours, and they get, I don't know, how do you sort of think about this?
I don't say anything online about anything at all. Like, and the thing is that and this might sound kind of silly, but like, I really feel like most, well, this is just an opinion, so it might not be an opinion that everybody subscribes to, which is great. But I just think that I prefer when creators don't share their thoughts all the time publicly about things, because you know, Rowling didn't need to do what she did. You know, even if she believed horrible things, she didn't need to share them with everyone. And I think that that's what I kind of, you know, she could have very well just kept quiet and let her stories keep on, you know, building to the communities they built it, and not have to say a word. But instead, she became very hateful and very, just really just filled with something awful. And so like, and felt the need to share that with the world. And so for me, I just think that, you know, when I say that something belongs to people, I feel like when you do put a story out there, you kind of do give it away. And so you're kind of like, you're like, this is yours now. You guys can kind of have this and do what you want with it. And I don't necessarily need to sit there and tell you what you should believe about my stories or other people.
But some people could take things in ways that you don't intend them to. Does that scare you, or does that?
No, I mean, like, you know, I mean, I think that, I mean, if you look at it in terms of Rowling, I think a lot of people found Rowling, found Harry Potter. I actually wasn't as huge of a Harry Potter fan as a lot of my friends were, you know. But like, I think a lot of people took Rowling's stories to be about found family and, you know, found queer family. And like trying to find, like, you know, when you're, you know, growing up like a kid under the stairs, you know, to find, you don't really have any. I mean, I know a lot of people in the community who really, you know, found a lot of meaning in that book. So talk about taking something from maybe what it wasn't intended to, you know. So I just can't like, oh hey. But like, yeah, so I mean, I don't know if that's something that, no, I think that if it's gonna, I think people can think what they would like to think about something, and, you know, I hope that if anything, it just makes you think a little bit about it, so, you know.
Yeah, we do have to.
Have a thought is good.
Yeah, we have to give up our babies sometimes.
Yeah, for me at least, that's my thing.
Yeah. Let's see, this is, I mean, the relationship that you build between Isaac and Micah is just really lovely, and sort of, it builds to an honesty which is really touching. And then there's this wonderful camping scene where they actually encounter real bees, which is really sort of a great juxtaposition. I love that panel here where you see a real bee and then the sort of cartoon bee of, you know, of the OCD manifestations. So why bring in the real bees? Like how did that symbology work for you, that metaphor work for you?
For me, I think it was just like the idea that kind of trying to understand that, because when they talk about the bees, they talk about like how they are. At first, Isaac is really afraid of when he sees the bee for the first time. He's really scared because it has a stinger, and then he kind of gets a little bit more of an explanation about how they really are just actually quite positive and quite, you know, unthreatening, and they're just kind of a part of the world that we have to kind of deal with and understand and like kind of not hate, not fear. And so I don't know, the idea of these kind of made up imaginatory, imagined beings kind of become more sinister than the ones that are actually in reality. And so just kind of the idea that sometimes what our imaginations can make something that's completely benign to something so non-benign. And so, you know, the idea, and I think it actually ends up helping him try to figure out how to deal with his own body.
Yeah, that's just wonderful sort of, you know, wordless panel there at the end where he's sort of looking at his own metaphor and realizing that it doesn't really work particularly well. And I think that calls into question
That's a great way to put it.
Everything, right?
That's a great way to put
it. The sort of development of this, you know, beautiful young love, and then the sharing of the things that make each of them different. So Isaac's talking about, you know, describing the OCD to Micah, and then Micah's describing their non-binary identity to Isaac, and it's just really beautiful. That's really well written. Yeah. I don't really have any question about it. I like it.
Well, and also, I mean, that was really, Ryan and I spoke a lot about.
Right.
Something that
Right.
Ryan and I really worked really hard on because, and we just really wanted to make sure that we got a lot. We really, that it was really, felt right. It felt like it hit right.
Yeah. Well, it's also an example of how collaboration can be so powerful because Rye is non-binary, and so you can sort of, and you can sort of, and engage both of your life experiences here.
That's right.
Yeah, it's sort of this lovely part at the end where I'm talking about what normal means. And then we see their D&D characters also sort of
That was all right. I loved it. I was like, oh, that's great.
Fair enough.
Which is actually great because sometimes like you're sitting here and you write a scene and all of a sudden, they were like, well, I'd like to do it this year. I was like, that is amazing. What a genius idea.
That's great. That's great. So talk to me a little bit about role-playing games. I'm curious, like people in the audience here, how many people have played role-playing games? You nerds. Satanic panic everywhere. Yeah, so, I mean, it seems like this incredible incubator for the storytelling skills that are necessary that you call into play later. So how do you think about?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that I had a great group for a while with I was DMing with Maya Kobe and Nike Ram and a few other people that we were playing back in the day. And it was
some big personalities, big
imaginations.
imaginations.
And like we were doing this, and I DM'd the group, and it was great because for me it was a really wonderful way to learn about storytelling because the people who are playing always interact with it and make their own choices.
Yeah.
And then those choices end up, making you have to be on your toes and come up with different scenarios where if they do this or what happens then, if they decide to burn it all down and with glee, like what do you do to kind of like either keep that from happening or deflect and go in a different direction. So it's good for storytelling, but I also think just for holistically, it's great for people to test out personality. Test out personalities and learn about themselves. And I know that whenever I play with kids, whenever I played with kids before, it's wonderful to see how they really get so into it, usually in really ridiculous ways, and that's what you're supposed to, So people can kind of try to figure out what it is. You can you can act in certain ways as your character that you wouldn't necessarily act in as yourself. And I think that can be a really good, you can realize things about yourself that way. So that's one of the things I think is great just about playing the games. Yeah.
Did you ever have the experience where you play a character for long enough that they start becoming like their own personality sitting inside of you that does its own thing, whether you want to or not?
Yes.
I had a character that I played for 6 years, and I would try to tell her to do something, she'd be like, no. I'm doing this other thing. I'm like, oh, wait, you're me though, I don't get it.
Well, that's great to decide your character to be a certain way, and all of a sudden you have to play something that that's not you.
Yeah.
And I love that idea. It's great.
So everybody should play Dungeons and Dragons. That's
Yeah.
And this is sort of the way you wrap up this. I mean, because this book, there really aren't any villains, really. Which is so wonderful, to see that. And I sort of think about there's sort of a writing style, a writing school that would be like raise the stakes, raise the stakes, raise the stakes, and you don't. You let the stakes be what they are. And then, and you give empathy to everybody in the situation, including the sort of, the mother is sort of set up as the villain, but she's not villainous at all, and so is the sister. And they do what they do for very specific reasons that are completely emotionally relatable, and then they come around it by the end.
Yeah, and I think that, that's especially in the case of, Unico has a lot of straight up villains and heroes.
Yes,
But
yes.
Buzzing definitely we thought about it, at some point the editor was trying to make us put a bully into the book.
Right.
And we were like, we tried, I came with a name from Baxter Lemon or something like that. And trying to put it into the book. And
That is not a convincing name. I'm sorry. That's a game.
That's about it.
I'm Baxter Lemon.
That's right. Well, And because of that, I think it was almost like I was telling on myself by trying to put a character like that into the book. I was like, this is not gonna work. So we tried to write it in, but then I was like, no, this book isn't about kids being bullied. It's about the main character's already being bullied by his own thoughts. And so
Right,
it's
the
like,
police are,
so
yeah.
there's no reason to kind of put another,
Yeah.
if there's any villain of the story, it's like it's kind of dealing with yourself.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's I guess some would call Buzzing's like a quieter story for that reason.
Yeah.
I love quiet stories, which I like that one. So
And I think that's one of the things I find so wonderful and remarkable about your storytelling is you really do radically different things, not only just in terms of genre, right, from like slice of life stuff like this to, very much, wild fantasy, but also in terms of tone. I mean, you're doing different, from like high stakes, melodrama to really understated, emotionally driven pieces.
well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so getting to Unico. And I will say also there's many other, like you've written many other things, so I'm just sort of focusing on Buzzing and Unico, but there's a whole bunch of other things as well. Unico was a character created by Osamu Tezuka. Can you describe what your relationship to Tezuka was, how you found out about him and connected with him, his work, and then how did you get to work with one of his creations, like Tezuka?
Well, the way I got into Tezuka quite a long time ago. I really loved Tezuka's work, but truth be told, it was in this program in 2013 in your class.
What?
Where we read M.W. Blue. It was the first time we had to read that book. And I got really into that book, and I got really into a lot of Tezuka's work, and I started to get really, really, really obsessed. Like I started to, I came, and part of this is because of the way that you kind of introduced him to us, but like I came to see him as probably this is just personal opinion, the greatest cartoonist of all time. And so like, I really started to see him as that kind of creator who just the way that he did comics, like you can look at any kind of thing that he does, he's done like everything. Yeah. He's tried like everything, every single technique you can think of in comics that he's done. He's tried it. And done it
Relentlessly
relentlessly experimental. Like done, like the way he uses black to convey emotions and to kind of isolate his characters is incredible. There's so many incredible things. Anyway, just so Tezuka's awesome. So really thanks to you in large part, and then like in your amazing class, and then like.
Sorry, I did not pay for this. I swear.
Yeah, I wish I paid you. That's what happens, No, but like, in 2019, I got the opportunity, 2020, I got the opportunity through I'll say that some of it had to do with Deb Aoki, that I was able to, through another person, get to a place where I was able to pitch an idea to Tezuka Productions. And because I found out that they were looking to work on getting a character, reimagined in kind of a meaningful way. And I heard that, I was told that they had been thinking about Unico, because nobody had been able to do it. One of the people who worked there was quite a good friend of mine, Yoshimi. She had been looking for a very long time to try to do something with Unico because she really liked the character, but every single person that kept on trying to do something was usually more of a merchandising kind of thing and didn't really understand the character. And so I reread the book, the original, manga a bunch of times, and we watched all the films, and then I really thought that it was, I found it so meaningful. I found the story actually really way more. People think it's just kind of like they look at this cute little unicorn that's kind of like a little naive, and they're kind of like, well, they don't really see what the story, how affecting the story really is. And so I put together a pitch and gave it my all, and then kind of completely did not expect them to say yes, that they wanted it. And so they said we could do something with it.
When she was thinking about reimagining this character, was she even imagining for an American audience?
She was actually, so what they care about what I've learned they care about in Tezuka Productions is that you understand Tezuka. And not to say that I understand Tezuka, but I'm saying like if you understand his themes and what he's trying to get across in the heart of his, his stories, if like you understand that, that's what they're more concerned about than anything else. Rather than it being, they're not kind of like as controlling in certain ways. There's like, if you understand the themes. And so that I think was they were like, they thought that I understood what Unico was trying to get across. And so that was the idea, I think, why they allowed that to happen.
Now, you initially did, like you were going to self-publish it, you did a Kickstarter, like what was the process then?
So it was crazy. So well, first I worked with a friend of mine now, Aki, who you know as well. And he approached Gudihida with the idea of working on the project, and they said no, because they were afraid to work with Tezuka's work. They didn't want to approach it because it was too big of a thing. And then we asked them again, and they said, "We'll think about it."
You were like just some background. They're an artist team, right?
Yes, there are two women who live outside of Tokyo in Saitama, Japan, which is like a kind of city outside of Tokyo. They live together, and they've done so since high school, I believe. Super incredibly talented, always working, brilliant artist team.
They have that work schedule that we've
They do.
been hearing about.
13 hours a day.
13 hours a day.
So it's
7 days a week.
And so like, but yeah, they were, and they decided on the third time we asked them, they were like, okay, we'll give it a shot. So that's how we.
So you kept, like, they would say no, and you'd be like,
Well, Aki told me, he was like, he's like, I think they're scared, but I think if I ask them again in the right way, they'll say yes. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And then he did ask them again, and they were like, well, maybe. And then he was like, and I guess he ended up telling them that they were allowed to put their own spin on it, and it wasn't going to be, and that was going to be okay.
yeah, okay.
And so, and that Tezuka Productions really loved their work.
Oh, okay.
And so, because they were afraid that they were going to get into a situation where they were being like, kind of pinned down by somebody who was like, we don't like what you're doing, we want you to change everything. They were like, no, we trust you, and show us, we love your work, like, we would be happy to work with you. And then they were like, okay, we'll give it a shot.
And they had already worked for an American publisher,
Oh, yeah.
so they were comfortable working left to right instead of right to left,
Yes.
with color.
Well, and Unico, so the interesting thing, and some of you may already know this, the original Unico was actually created, it was created in 1976, and it was actually created in left to right, to be read left to right and in full color. And so it was actually, that's why we kind of decided to go with that's why we didn't go right to left.
So it was designed for a Western audience?
It was designed primarily to get, so Tezuka was obsessed with Disney. He was obsessed, he watched Bambi like 800 times. And he was obsessed with Disney, so like he basically decided that he wanted to try to make Unico an ode to a kind of classic Disney film. And then also, he worked, it was done in Congress with Sanrio, because Unico was going to become like the Hello Kitty of Sanrio, but then it didn't work. And so it's like, because of this idea, it was a way that, but then they serialized it in the United States in a magazine called Lyrica, tried to appeal to Western audiences. It was a little bit ahead of its time, because people hadn't really discovered manga yet. So that's kind of the way that it.
That's fascinating. And it's so deep and dark and complicated, like everything Tezuka. So
Yes.
the idea of it being Hello Kitty and being that flat is sort of impossible.
No, it's a tragic story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a moment where Unico sort of comes into his sort of full form, and we see shattered images from, I assume, adventures that we have yet to...
Past, present, future.
Yeah, right, okay. So obviously there is the work by Tezuka that Tezuka already did with Unico. How are you retelling those stories? Are you creating new stories? Like, how are you approaching this?
Yeah, so basically what we're doing is there's an original Unico manga, and there's a few ones that are kind of that nobody really knows about, like Unico running around with a baby dragon or kind of something. It's like, you know, the main ones that people think about in the films that came out in the 80s were pulled from these original stories. And so I think there are 10 chapters, and you can read them. You can buy them for. There's a couple of them that are still out there. You can buy them; they're really expensive. But you can read them online too. Digital manga publishing, I think, is the place to put them out. But yeah, so basically what we did is we decided to kind of follow the Naoki Urasawa Pluto grid and take from the stories and then try to kind of like reimagine them in a way and kind of like use aspects for them well. And this one, because Unico was never finished in the style of many of Tezuka's works. Yeah. So like, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but Tezuka did a lot of stuff. And some of it didn't get finished. So it's like, you know, a good amount of it didn't get done. So Unico never had an ending, and we are giving permission to end it. Oh. And so we are going to be able to, for that reason, we created like, taking mostly each of the volumes are going to be 8 volumes, are going to be taken from different stories in the Unico, from the old stories. Then we have a bigger, larger A plot, or B plot that involves a lot of other secondary Tezuka characters from different stories. Okay. So like Phoenix and Neo and other characters. Because basically all the, very, very quick aside, in Tezuka world, there's this thing called the star system. Yes. Right. Which is basically you have characters that play, they're like actors. Yeah. So, you know, Adam, Astro Boy, doesn't need to be actually Astro Boy or Adam. Yeah. He can be Tom if you put it into a different story, but he's still Astro Boy. Yeah. So I think Tezuka he even had like a fake list of the names of the actors and how much he was paying them for each of the parts. I mean, I love how like Tezuka produced so much work and then decided to go another level, another meta level. I know. And they're like, yeah, you can use the star system. So like, you know, so we were allowed to like, you know, so like, yeah, there you go. And so we can, you know, use the star system. And so there's a little in book 2 in content. There's the first like little Easter egg for anybody who reads Blackjack in there. So stuff like that. Oh my God. Yeah. So was there a mother in Tezuka? No. So that's one of the things. Also, like we had to. Some of the things in Tezuka's work, while wonderful, also comes from a very different time period. Yes. So in the original story, the evil robot is a man, kind of a male. It's kind of like a male-coded who is really obsessed with marrying a young girl. So we decided, okay, we can change that. Yeah. So we're going to make it into a mother figure for the young girl, and we got that first. And then, like, you know, they understood why too. They're like, yeah, that's totally okay. So, like, we just kind of recalibrated some of those things to make it work for 2025. No, fair enough. There's a lot of elements of transformation that happen in Tezuka constantly, right? I mean, it's a constant theme in Tezuka's work, but then also in your own work. I mean, transformation is a big deal. So you describe it, like, how does that? Did you sort of resonate? That element of Tezuka's work resonate for you, and you sort of lean into that? Or yeah, I love transformation. So I mean, basically, like Tezuka's work, I love, and also he was really into anthropomorphic humans in a lot of ways. Yes. I'm not so much as that. At the same time, there was Tesla's daughter discovered some furry porn in his desk years later. It's like a mouse with like you know, it's really funny. But, you know, he was also, in his other works, he was also really into, like, just the idea that humans becoming wolves and becoming beasts and what that means actually, like, going beyond the idea of, like, you know, what that means metaphorically, actually turning into beasts, you know, that actually makes, like, the line between us and animals. And I find that those themes to be so incredible, so interesting. So I've always been to that, and I love animals. Animal stories. So I've always loved animal stories. So Anytime I can make animals get big or small or transform, people transform to animals, I love it.
Yeah, his obsession with like what is human
That's
and what
my
is
cat,
not.
by the way.
Oh, there's your cat.
Yeah.
That's your cat. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's just an example of these 4 people. I think they're so beautifully done, and it really, the idea of sort of pacing, wordless pacing, spending some time with letting the visual storytelling sort of sing. And then I also just got to call out your hero for the design of Venus. And this will, I mean, Tezuka was sort of chaotic in his world building. Like he just sort of threw shit at the walls. Like everything was like really over the top, right? Like constantly over the top, and didn't, you know, he didn't feel the need to like make everything make sense, sort of. So Venus is, but also that allowed for this sort of sizzle, right? Like I mean, Venus is the evil goddess, but she's also the goddess of love and beauty. Like what? That's an interesting decision.
Yeah, I love that decision. I love the fact that he did that, and then he tried to create a. And actually, it's so funny because that's one of the reasons because of that sandbox, kind of that spaghetti kind of thing we did. We get to take the characters and really expand them.
Yeah.
Because Venus was kind of a smaller character, I mean, she's the source of Unico, the big bad, but you don't get to see her very often. And so we really were like, okay, now we can like spend time, like really digging into Venus, and, and making her, giving her all the background that she deserves.
Yeah.
So it's because it's a fascinating character, right?
Yeah, beautiful. And this sort of flower design is just so awesome.
Absolutely.
The Unico as a character is also sort of in this world that is quite oftentimes these set of worlds that are oftentimes quite dark, but he is sort of relentlessly, positive,
Yes.
right? And his powers are positive. They're also sort of limitless. There's no sort of defined limits. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's his character is he is a character who, no matter how often he forgets why he is who he is, or why he's doing what he's doing, he still strives to do the right thing.
Right.
Which means that he's a kind of a hopeful character. And some might kind of see it as blind optimism. I see it as kind of just a character who just really wants things to work out for the better, and just refuses to take like any kind of answer for any other kind of answer, and that can get him into trouble.
Yeah.
And so and let's hope and get into trouble. Yeah.
Also, just phenomenal fight sequences. I mean, and the character design too. The creepy moth seed.
The string of
So good. Oh my god.
Yeah, those are new characters. Those are fun characters.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Well, you really, you and your hero like fit into, Tezuka's world building.
That's really
kind of
great.
holidays.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is, you have to be sort of, just constantly generating new characters and making them make sense within this world. It's a very specific storytelling challenge.
It is, and yeah, it's been a lot. We're doing a lot of work. It's like really wonderful work, but a lot of work.
So you've been, and I'm gonna turn it over to questions from the audience. I wanted to have you talk a little bit about what it's like working with Japanese creators, and to a certain extent sort of straddling the Japanese market and the American market, because these are being published by Scholastic, but they are being done in conjunction with approval of Tezuka Productions. And you're an American writer, and the artist is a artist team is Japanese. So, work cultures, like comics cultures, how do they come together? And do you think of this as a hybrid, manga American comics production, or like how do you think of it?
I'll try to make this on the shorter side, so we can make sure that we because I could go on for a long time about this, but so essentially it is. I think that one of the things that's really important to me about working with material from Japan is to work directly with people from Japan, in Japan, and the people who are responsible for creating this work, Tezuka Productions in particular, Guri Hidu, to be able to kind of make this process, to work on a process like that makes this work in the way that it does. Scholastic publishes it, but they don't really give us as many, they don't give us like as many things we can't do, which is nice. So it's interesting because I do think of it as manga, for the reason that, you know, we're working as close as we can with manga material to create a reimagining of it.
Yeah, right.
So it is interesting though, because like, I think that this question of authenticity often comes up in manga all the time, especially in manga and anime, because people in those communities can be very, very attached to authenticity, which I understand to a certain degree. Like, but I also think that manga and anime is so global. It's so global. In the United States, manga is constantly outselling the rest of the comic book market. People read it all the time. Everybody watches anime. It's a huge cultural phenomenon, which is great. And that's how I grew up into getting into it, you know, in its earlier years. And so I think that it's okay to engage with it in a way that's, I think you just have to make sure that you're not just, the things that I think don't usually work are when people are farming licenses. They take a license and they bring it over and they just make it kind of their own thing. You can do that, but it might not be as compelling as if you really work closely with the people and places and culture that produces this work. So I think it creates something that's kind of, is it a hybrid? Sure, but I think it's a really interesting one. So like, I see it happening a little bit more often. I think there's, I may be wrong, but I think there's a really popular manga in Japan called Dr. Stone that is written, I think, by a German person. I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but it's,
and there's some breakthroughs, and it does happen if, you know, there's this real effort to work with Japan, to be honest, which seems like it would be an easy thing to say, but it's not necessarily always easy to get into that situation.
But and it's been a famously closed system, I think, for foreigners, right, for non-Japanese people. But there seems to be more openings now within the manga industry for people who are not Japanese. Like, because it is a global comics language now and a global audience now.
In Tezuka in particular, Tezuka Productions and Tezuka himself, Tezuka Sensei himself, like, he believed in comics as an international language.
Yeah.
He believed specifically that comics could be used to make people understand each other. He took work that was Western work and he made it his own. He once looked at a poster for Fritz Lang's Metropolis, a poster, and then wrote a book called Metropolis that's completely nothing to do with Metropolis or Fritz Lang.
It's his own version of it.
His own version of a poster. And so it's like, you know, so, I mean, you know, he was very much open to this idea of sharing. And we got some pretty great blessings about this project from people that were related to Tezuka that was really meaningful to us. And so we were like, because it's definitely like one of those things where I think about often, like, okay, I'm doing this right, because it's a big responsibility. And but then when we hear the right things from people that we think we need to hear them from, it makes a big difference.
And it's classic, maybe expanding some of this.
Yes. Yes, maybe experience.
Good to know. All right, so any questions from the audience, please? They're right in the back. Did you?
Me?
Yes.
Sweet. Hi. I was curious about your Venus character when you went to the slide that showed the sort of like what the original character designs were and the designs for your book. Mind you, I'm not familiar at all with Unico, but I am fascinated by your version, your book's version of Venus. Like, the character design is absolutely gorgeous, and the original looked lovely as well, but it was also very like your standard Greek goddess imagery. So I was curious to hear about what that conversation was like with the artists. Like, how did y'all get to that character design, especially given how different it is?
Yeah, it's a great question. That was kind of like, what I really wanted to try to do was create like a character. I like the idea of gods not looking like humans. Like the idea that if we had, like, if there were like these celestial beings, they wouldn't necessarily be in our image, perhaps, you know? And like, there's this, yeah, and actually, that's something you see in a lot of, you know, manga as well, which is something I really like. You see kind of characters that are from non-human places that look different than human beings. So, I talked about that with Gudihito, they love that idea, and so then they started studying flowers, and there's actually an original character sketch, I don't have it with me, but where they were actually using flowers to sketch Venus, and they kind of made, I can't remember which flower they used, but it was, I think it might have been one that was a little bit deadly, and they kind of sculpted Venus from that flower, and they do a lot of that, which is really, behind the scenes, it's pretty cool to see. They kind of do this, so so we call them celestials. All the celestials in the story all have to pull from very unique kind of creature formats, is the idea. So she doesn't have a mouth, for example, but she has, like, you know, beautiful flowing hair. So it's like the idea of trying to make it human but uncanny a little.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Actually, so me and Vincent just did a Tokusatsu inspired comic, and we want to do, like, Pie in the Sky one day was to do something with Kamen Rider, which is Ishinomori's kind of legacy. And
Tezuka's first assistant.
Yep, exactly. So we were wondering, like, what would you like suggest? I guess we have this Tokusatsu sort of like with comic, and then we also were thinking if we could do a couple of pages of like what we would do with it. Not just like original one, like whichever one they want. Like we would want to do Hibiki, but that's a much different season. Like, how would you suggest, like, I guess getting in the room, and then also like what you want to have with you?
It's a great question. I know that
They're bringing it to the U.S.
What's that?
They said they want to bring it to the U.S.
I know, I actually heard about the Kamen Rider thing because, yeah, I was talking to some people, like they want to bring it to they want to figure out how to bring it here. I don't know who the people are, but I know that they will, all I can say is if you're gonna talk to them, the standard bit of advice that I took and that I've kind of, that by now is like, don't expect the first meeting to go with a yes. You talk the first time and then you go back in 6 months and you talk again. And then don't expect that to be a yes either. And then the next time you go back, that's maybe a yes. But it's like you have to kind of keep on, you have to really show, I mean, my opinion is you should go there. You should go to Japan and try to talk to the people there. To go actually, that's my opinion. That's how I was able to do this with Unico for the most part. It's like it's good to be able to to go and kind of try to speak to the people and show them that you really care about the project, if that's possible to do. It can take a little bit of time, but that's the best way I found. I'm sure there are other ways though. I'm sure there are.
You develop a relationship or something.
Yeah, I mean, because like, you know, a lot of people come and they want to, I guess the thing is that a lot of people want to try to take Japanese IP and work with it to varying degrees of success. One of the reasons we had, I know this is being recorded, hopefully not too many people. But one of the reasons why we had the Tezuka production could be so wary is because they had a really poor experience with Astro Boy. With Adam in 2007, that movie that was created, that CGI movie, lots of issues, ended up with the Weinstein Company, and lots of problems that resulted from that, still rights tied up in the United States, they can't do much with it. You know, so there's a lot of like interesting licensing issues that end up resulting from Japanese IP working with American or non-Japanese people who want to work with them. So to show them that you really care about it, that's what they really want to see. They would say like, oh no, it's not just like an IP grab. Like, no, we really care about this. We love this. This is something we care about. We're passionate about. This is awesome. It's what we want to do. That's what you kind of have to show them. You know?
You like cold email before you show up, or you just like
Yeah, or find someone who can give you an introduction, or either that or do a cold email. You know, see, you know, say like I'm interested. My colleague and I or whoever you're working with. You know, we'd like to be able to, we'd like to be able to come to Japan and present an idea to you just be very like straightforward and professional, and that's what I would do if I was trying to. You might be able to get on a call first to make a preliminary, a Zoom call first to make a preliminary meeting, and then, you know, then you go there to really make sure that you show your interest. You know, that's how I did it. But I'm sure there are other ways.
From your experiences and the opportunities you see like globally right now, what do you recommend for folks currently going through this CCA program?
That's a great question. I wonder what I would have wanted to tell. I think that comics are on the rise. There is no. I don't feel like there's going to be a market. It's not going to. There's not going to be any bubble that pops anytime soon. So what I would recommend to everybody who's in the program, what I recommend is that try to do something that is feasible to get out there first. Don't step, if you can, step away from your 600-page, opus. If you can, try to step away from it and try to like concentrate on something that's a little bit more easy to put out. I mean, a lot of people that I know that have done a lot of work in comics, they, made a lot of zines. They put a lot of zines. They kept on putting out work, kept on going to conventions, kept on, making sure. I think, in short, you just have to love it, and you have to really want to keep on creating more, and keep on developing your own style and your own what you want to say and what you want to get out there. Try to focus in, try to hone it, and also just do a lot of it, make a lot of it. But yeah, I think that the thing is, it's interesting because there's so many different ways to approach it. Like as a writer, what I would do is approach it from a pitching angle. So I put together a lot of pitches, which a lot of you could do as well. You can make sure you really get a really good pitch together for a project you want to make, a graphic novel. If you want to make a book, put together a pitch. Hone the hell out of it. Make sure it's awesome, and then send it to somebody. And there's a strong chance that someone will pick it up. And so, that's where I started. And the first comic that Justin showed, Legend, we worked on that pitch for such a long time. And then finally, somebody picked it up after being rejected by 10 other people. And then, I only started actually publishing books, full graphic novels, Little Brown. It was my first kind of bigger publisher. That was in 2019 or something. Yeah, no, that was Oni. That was Lionforge before they went under. So I think that just put together pitches or put together your own stuff and get it out there to people, and make sure you're going to conventions. Make sure you keep on talking to other cartoonists, and try to make your work the best that it can possibly be. That's I guess what I can say.
I think one final one, if there is. Yeah.
I met you about a year ago.
Oh.
At Mission Comics, but
right.
I don't expect you to remember me. But I wanted to say it's nice to meet another artist that has OCD. And
Oh, cool.
made a comic about it. I remember grilling the hell out of Justin in class this year about, okay, why don't we have comics? What do we do? And I didn't know that you made this, so I'm gonna check out. I wrote down the title, but Buzzing. I'm just glad to kind of see that, because with a lot of representation, I don't think we get seen that often. And a lot of people I knew growing up thought that OCD just meant, oh, you just like the clean stuff. No, no,
No, not at all.
But I don't know. I just wanted to say thanks for that.
Absolutely. Solidarity.
Erin, did you have something?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was kind of similar to your previous thing about pitching. I think pitching is kind of one of the harder things, harder skills to develop as a soft skill, because you're always focused on the visual skills. So I always try to create the most solid pitch possible, but then usually when I do pitch it, there are questions and like I feel like I'm not able to like fully answer those questions. Like I don't feel like I'm able to like create like a quick understandable thing a lot of the time, especially if you're working with something like fantasy. Like how do you help people really understand the vision and like kind of really communicate that?
It's a great question. I don't think there's an easy answer to that, except for the fact that you should look the way that I did it. I looked at other pitches that people had done that worked, and I kind of tried to copy it. Like I didn't copy their word for word sentences, but I was like, okay, what are the language are they using here to talk about? You know, okay, then you have target audience. Oh my God, all right. So or marketing or whatever it happens to be, or you know, I don't know anything about that. So, but I was kind of looking at what other people said about it, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I can BS that. And so, and then you do BS, but then also you put your own sense of, you know, what is it about, it doesn't actually lead you to think, what is it about your story that's interesting and unique? Or what is it about your story that you want to get across? Or like, you know, how do you explain your story in 2 sentences? It's really hard to do, but if you look at other people who do it, and you keep on trying it yourself, you'll get there. It's like, I think we came from Legend, we did it like 50 times. We came with like different log lines for Legend. And it was ridiculous. I felt like I was going insane. Like finally we got to the point where we got it, we're like, oh, okay, our agent told us like that this works. And like, we're like, okay, it worked. But it took a while. So yeah, you have to keep on reiterating.
Well, thank you, Sam Sattin.